Hi, I'm Kristen Houston, Academic Coach at Miller County Middle. This video is intended to help parents, provide some resources and tips for parents, helping students prepare for the upcoming Georgia Milestones Assessment. At Miller County Middle School, we'll be taking the Georgia Milestones the first week in May, which is May 1st through the 5th. Remember that 6th and 7th graders only take the Georgia Milestones in reading ELA and in math. 8th graders will take reading ELA, math, and then science and social studies. We will be at school taking some time to allow the students to practice in the interface that they use to take the assessment. This will give them an opportunity to refamiliarize themselves with some of the tools that they are able to use when taking the test. So I wanted to share some resources with parents. I'm going to share my screen. If you go to the Georgia Department of Education website, you can get there by typing in Godot, searching for that, and clicking on Georgia Department of Education, going to Learning and Curriculum, and then to Assessment. Once you get there, you'll find the Georgia Milestones Assessment System on the left-hand side. Click on that. And then once you get to the Georgia Milestones Assessment System page, scrolling down under Resources, on the right side of the screen, you'll find Georgia Milestones Resources. And this will bring you to a page that has resources for parents and students and educators and the like. You'll see that there are study resource guides here. This is what I wanted to highlight in this video today. There's a study and resource guide for each grade that takes the Georgia Milestones Assessment. I'm going to go into 6th grade. This guide contains a lot of helpful information. It gives you an overview of the test, the types of questions that are asked, gives you some tips on how to prepare for the test, and things of that nature. It also kind of explains depth of knowledge and how the questions are leveled, whether they want students just to recall information, use basic or complex reasoning, or extended reasoning. So looking at this study guide, there are some example questions where it will show you the depth of knowledge level, give you an example question, it will show you the answer, and then give you an explanation of that answer. So that can be helpful going over and reviewing some of those with your student. There's also kind of a practice test. For 6th grade, of course, it would only be for English and for math. In this study guide, and gives you specific examples of the types of tasks that the students will be asked to do on the assessment. For example, here is an example of an extended writing task for an argumentative essay. This is exactly how it will look on the test for your child. They will be asked to perform a similar task. And this would be very good practice, something to practice at home with them. Also, there are examples of the different types of questions and responses that students will be asked to give. This is an example of a technology-enhanced question where students it's kind of interactive, where they'll have to click on these drop-down boxes to be given options for answer choices, and they click on the right one. There are other technology-enhanced questions that require students to drag and drop their answers into the answer space, but this gives students an opportunity to practice with those types of things as well. Also in this study guide, there is a list of key terms. Let's see, I wrote the page number down for that right here. So it'll have a list of key terms that can you could go over with your student just to make sure that they are familiar with these things. These are the types of things that will be mentioned, asked for, looked for in this particular test. At the end of each test, there is an answer key. So it will go through with each item in the practice test. It will give you the standard that is associated with that question. It will give you the depth of knowledge level for each question. It will give you the answer to the question, and then also an explanation. So that is helpful as well. As I mentioned, in grade 6, there will be an ELA test and also a math test. So going to the math test, you'll see that it also gives you an explanation of the depth of knowledge, levels, the types of questions that will be asked for each depth of knowledge level. It will give you a list of key terms at the beginning of each different type of section that the math is assessing. Again, you'll see it will show you the type of question that's asked, as well as the answer and an explanation for that answer. These are just the sample questions. Also located in these resource guides is an example of the formula sheet that students will be able to use. In the past, students have been able to have a handheld or a hard copy of this math formula sheet, as well as a hard copy of the periodic table for 8th graders taking the Science Georgia Milestones test. This year, they will not be able to have a hard copy. They will only be able to access these formula sheets online. So while the students are familiar with these formula sheets and have been using them in their classes, they will not have a separate formula sheet this year when testing. So it might be good for them to also practice using this formula sheet online. Students will, however, be able to have a handheld calculator this year. There is what they call a Desmos calculator, which is the online calculator that is embedded in the Georgia Milestones Assessment. While that will be available to students taking the math assessment, they will also be able this year to use a handheld calculator. But they have been practicing with the Desmos calculator in class and becoming more comfortable with that as well. So again, as you'll see, there's kind of a sample test. It gives you examples of technology enhanced questions, again, where you have to put things into the calculator. You may have to drag and drop your answer. Again, there might be some questions that have drop down multiple choice options for the technology enhanced questions. And then, as with the English test, there will be at the end an answer key that again associates the question with the state standard that's being addressed, the depth of knowledge level, the correct answer, and an explanation. Taking a quick look at the 8th grade study resource guide. Again, there is the English and math section, but as I mentioned before, this also has a science section with example questions, a study guide, a practice test, and a social studies section with the same type of thing. Example questions, a practice test, and an answer key at the end. So these are great resources for you to work with your student at home, helping them prepare for the Georgia Milestone. Of course, we here at Miller County Middle are doing everything that we can to help your students prepare for the Georgia Milestone as well. If you have any questions or just need some further information about this, feel free to contact me. Thanks.